Boy, does this get my heart pumping. You see an old theater marquee, and then you look up to what's playing, and it's a Hitchcock Film Festival. That's what the Stanford Theater in Palo Alto is doing this weekend, and inside, Vertigo. And in 2012, that movie topped Citizen Kane as the #1 movie of all time on the British Film Institute list. Recreating where Hitchcock shot that movie in and around San Francisco is quite a trip. So let's take one, starting at the Golden Gate.
Hitchcock felt that it was his masterpiece. It actually came out with mixed reviews by the critics and very poor showings at the box office. He always knew that he wanted to use the Golden Gate Bridge in a film and use San Francisco. San Francisco became a co-star in the movie.
Well, San Francisco's changed. The things that spell San Francisco to me are disappearing fast.
It's a time capsule of San Francisco in the 50s and made me wanted to go visit all the scenes I could.
Directing our ride-along is Aaron Leventhal, co-author of the amazing Footsteps in the Fog. And step 1, Nob Hill now and then.
I mean, one of the great things about this tour, many things have changed. Many things like that have stayed the same.
That's right, top of Nob Hill. This is San Francisco wealth.
Yeah, as opposed to where Jimmy Stewart is living.
Through the curvy part of Lombard Street. Curviest road in America.
I didn't know your address. I had a landmark. I remembered Coit Tower.
And when we get off that curvy part of Lombard...
Well, we had another one of the famous sites in the Hitchcock tour of San Francisco.
You left your door open.
The apartment that Scotty uses, Jimmy
it.
Stewart, in the movie Vertigo. It's not something that's very grand because he's a detective. He's a bachelor, so it can't be something fancy.
Oh, you've nothing to apologize for.
This is a great way to see San Francisco.
Absolutely, no doubt about it. Vertigo in so many ways was a Valentine to the city. Hitchcock was a real fan and was passionate about living in this area. And it's beautiful locations and vistas like the Palace of Legion of Honor.
And that's where the next critical scene takes place.
Yep.
Do we look like Jimmy Stewart?
Absolutely.
We join the action as Jimmy Stewart turns toward the Golden Gate in 1957. And we follow now and take the next step at Fort Point.
Well, it's got so much history. It's actually a military installation that's never seen actual action, but it's been on active duty between the Civil War and World War II. There's great shots to be had, and this, of course, is one of the best.
But at this point in the film, everything heads south.
100 miles south of San Francisco, there's an old Spanish mission.
Initially, there was talk that he wasn't going to use Mission San Juan Bautista.
But in October 1957, Hitchcock and crew did come to town.
And today, watching the film, you can't imagine that movie without Mission San Juan Bautista.
The Watsonville newspaper was there too. The photographs they took that day are being seen here for the first time. They were all rescued by Hollister historian Sandy Lydon.
There's one of my favorites. There's a scene where she comes up to the door and then pulls it and opens it to run into the church. And so she's standing in the archway just right by the door, and she's checking her fingernails. Yes. I mean, it's just perfect. Jimmy Stewart shaving.
Hitchcock standing right next to him, but appears giving directions to the guy who's holding the mirror.
And for those of you who want to imagine Jimmy Stewart, Kim Novak, and Alfred Hitchcock walking these streets in 2023,
San Juan has not changed at all.
so even if you weren't here, you can still recreate it.
Where are you now?
Here with you.
And it's all real. Here's your gray horse.
And there's your horse now, just kind of tucked into a corner of the stables.
His ghost. Hitchcock's still here. And he's here because of the power of art and the power of film. His fingerprints are all over this place. He's still hovering. Hitchcock's still here.
That was a labor of love on your part.
Yeah.
How?
Hitchcock fan.
What a road trip.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. And then I took stills from the film. iPad compared the two, and it was just fun to imagine that Hitchcock, once upon a time,
Stood there and
pretty much in the
framed
same
that shot.
You know, he lived in Scotts Valley in Santa Cruz Mountains.
Did not know that.
Yeah, so he was a fan of the Bay Area, and I think it shows in that movie.